all open all your three eyes. Om Nithyananda Paramashivam. Om Nithyananda Paramashivam.
Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dandvaditam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasham Ekam Nityam Vimalamajalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavaditam Trigunarhitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Nityanam everyone, welcome you all to yet another wonderful Bhava Darshan with the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam. Today, we're going to be having the Bhava Samadhi Darshan of the Chandrasekhara Murti. This is one of the many forms of Paramashiva, and along with the Bhava Samadhi Darshan, before we enter into the Bhava Samadhi Darshan directly, we're going to be understanding the Leela behind this form of Paramashiva, as well as the powerful cognitions it represents, and how, in our own personal lives, we can apply the powerful cognitions given and transmitted by this Murti. But before we enter into all of this, I'd like to share an exciting and special news from Kailasa. We have two very important news which have been released over the past couple of days. The first one being the truth being revealed by media about the no interpol notice against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. These posts are directly available in the Facebook page, the official handle of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in Facebook, which states very clearly that the Interpol has never issued any sort of notice on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. In fact, the Interpol themselves recognize the sovereignty of Kailasa nation, and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as the head of the sovereign state of Sri Kailasa. The Interpol has debunked the spat of disinformation in media of any Interpol notice or diffusion against Bhagwan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam in deference to the fact that he is the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and head of the state of the United States of Kailasa. The persecution of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has been recognized by the United Nations, which we're going to be seeing next, international bodies, and multiple countries. After baseless rumors spread about Interpol notices being issued against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, media like the News Minute have revealed the truth of the Interpol notice against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, along with clear evidence of letters directly from Interpol on the same. So as you can see here, there is, if you can scroll down actually on the same Facebook post, you will see the references linking the Interpol, the official letters by Interpol, stating that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has not received, has no notice has been put on the Supreme Hinduism, and that Interpol themselves identify and accept the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, recognize the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And the next important news which we would like to share with all of you is United Nations recognizing the persecution on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, on the Nithyananda Gurukul, and the persecution which has happened on Kailasa's children and women. A report on the special rapporteur on the sale and the sexual exploitation of children, including child prostitution, child pornography, and other child sexual abuse material on reparation for child victims and survivors of sale and sexual exploitation. The weaponization of sexual violence targeting women and children, especially of minority traditions, is part of a more pervasive and systematic campaign targeting certain indigenous spiritual traditions, minority communities, and their leaders. One such indigenous spiritual tradition currently targeted for extermination by the deep state elements in the Hindu of original indigenous agricultural tribes, which is the AIAT community, led by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagwan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam. Kailasa's Nithyananda Gurukul, the traditional residential education system of AIAT, is one of the core components of the AIAT from a tender age to learn the 64 Vidyas, types of knowledge, in a unique method of knowledge transmission. Since the year 2010, deep state elements have forcibly and unlawfully shut down the indigenous Nithyananda Gurukuls, depriving the AIAT children of their fundamental human rights and right to traditional education. Several terrorist attacks continued on the AIAT Gurukul schools and the children to destroy the indigenous education system, ironically, by the state bodies responsible for reparation. So if you actually scroll down on this post as well, you can see the direct links to all of these articles, or where the United Nations they themselves have recognized the persecution and have uploaded all these reports on their official website. So both of these links, both of these posts are available on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's official Facebook channel. Both of these posts are featured on the page, so it will be right there at the top. So you can go and view for yourself, as well as all the references and screen and the pictures, images referring to all the information being provided is also linked in this post. You can take a few minutes and you can actually go and look at these and read for yourself. And not only that, share this with the rest of the world. The United Nations, for the first time since the formation of the modern world, United Nations and other international bodies and institutions are now recognizing the Hindu persecution, which has been going on for so many thousands of years. So now with this, we're going to be entering into today's program, into the Bhava Samadhi Darshan of today. First, we're going to be learning about the grand narrative of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was born in the holy town of Tirunelveli in South India on January 3rd, 1978. At the tender age of 3, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was initiated into the Bala Sannyas as a Bala Sannyasi by various enlightened masters of Hinduism in the holy town of Tiruvannamalai. Not only that, but the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was identified as an incarnation by enlightened beings and masters such as Yogi Raj Yogananda Puri, Vidwan Panduranganath, as well as the 230th Guru Mahasannidhanam of the Tondai Mandaladinam of the Kanchi Mutt. By the age of 16, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was coronated to revive Kailasa, and the official induction as the successor of Arunachala Sarvanya Peetham has happened and was done to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism by his Guru Mataji Vibhudananda Puri, also lovingly called as Mataji Kuppammal. As you can see here in the photos, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism received the wooden staff, the Kamandalu water pot, and the conch, the traditional items which are handed over, passed down from Guru to disciple, along with the official induction as the successor into the lineage. You can see here the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism standing with Mata Vibhudananda Puri, as well as the official photo of the Pattabhishekam, of the coronation ceremony happening to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Next, we can see here the early days in the mission of Kailasa. When the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was very young, with the guidance of his gurus, built the temple monastery complex for his guru, Mataji Vibhudananda Puri, in Tiruvannamalai. This complex was built by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself, brick by brick. In the year 2001, on April 14th, at the age of 23, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism established the first Kailasa temple monastery complex in Tiruchendur, South India. As you can see here on the photo in the left-hand side most corner, the bottom left-hand side corner, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism with his own handwriting annotated the photograph documenting and recording the historic moment in the history of Sri Kailasa. The year following that, in November 4, 2002, by the age of 24, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism established the headquarters of the Kailasa Sarvanya Peetham in South India. By the year 2004, at the age of 26, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism conducted mass living enlightenment initiations all across the globe, taking people through powerful cleansing experiences of the 7 energy bodies, 7 chakras in our system. These programs happened in various cities all across the globe, including North America, Canada, and various parts of Europe as well. At the age of 27, in the year 2005, 15th of April, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was welcomed with the proclamation message by the Mayor of St. Louis, Francis G. Slade. Here we can see the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism conducting the mass living enlightenment conventions in various parts of South India as well as all across the globe. We have here glimpses of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism giving the discourse on stress to de-stress in the Oklahoma Medical Baptist Center in the United States. In the years 2015 and 16 respectively, during the Grand Kumbh Mela festival held every 6 years, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism conducted the mass living enlightenment initiation, initiating thousands and thousands of people who gathered for the Kumbh Mela celebration, both in the Nasik Kumbh Mela in 2015 and the Ujjain Kumbh Mela following a year later in 2018. Here we can see the various coronations of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. The youngest, the first coronation happened to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism when the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was at the age of 10. Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was coronated as the 233rd Guru Mahasannidhanam of Kanchi Kailas Sarvanya Peetham. In the years following, in the year 2004, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was coronated as the incumbent emperor of the Suryavamshi Surangi Sambrajya of the Suryavamsha lineage. In the following years, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was also coronated as the present 23rd Guru Mahasannidhanam of Dharma Mukti Swarga Paramadina. In the year 2012, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was coronated as the present 293rd Guru Mahasannidhanam of Kailas Onnata Shyamala Peetha Sarvanya Peetham. In the year 2013, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was coronated as the present Mahamandaleshwar, which is the supreme spiritual head of Mahanirvani Akhada, which is the largest apex monastic order. In the years following, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was coronated as the 1008th Acharya Mahamandaleshwar, which is the head of all spiritual leaders of the Atal Akhada, which is the ancient apex body of Hinduism. In the year 2015, was elected as the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism by a congregation of over 1,000 Hindu leaders, pontiffs. We are now going to understand more about the sovereign state of Sri Kailasa. Kailasa is a macrocosmic, ancient Hindu enlightened civilizational nation whose vision is living enlightenment for all of humanity. Kailasa's mission is to revive and share with today's world the practical applications of the greater sciences of authentic Hinduism, including Hindu cosmic physics, Hindu alchemy, Hindu cosmology, Hindu biology, Hindu mathematics, the power manifestation science, and other sciences as revived by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. These sciences were once practiced freely in over 56 nations across the continent, but are now facing extinction due to the persecution which has been spread over a millennium. Here we are looking at the 108 different Sri Kailasa initiatives, which are a collection of 108 initiatives to support a variety of humanitarian services, which collectively allow for the creation of an enlightened, peaceful, sustainable, equitable, resilient, and thriving world. One of the 108 projects initiated by Sri Kailasa, which you're going to be looking at right now, is the No Hungry Home project offered by Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for nutritious food and a hunger-free world. Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations, over the past 27 years, have served 1 billion meals. Every month, the Hindu ASMT community has organized more than 3 million annadans, which is the free organic meals served as per the tradition. These annadans were organized and served during the religious gatherings to everyone without discrimination. On normal days, up to 10,000 meals are served daily free of cost, and these numbers go up to 100,000 on festival days. Here we can see Kailasa's protective and preventive COVID care centers offered by Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for affordable healthcare and holistic living. During the pandemic, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism converted his monastery campuses into a multi-layer quarantine facility free for all people, regardless of any difference in age, gender, caste, creed, ethnicity, social economic status, or any other form of discrimination. Not only that, but free food, shelter, medical services, and internet, all of these services were provided free of cost for an indefinite amount of time, as long as devotees continued and to stay there and be in the multi-layered quarantine facilities. More than 20 million citizens across the world of Kailasa followed the 28-day spiritual regimen given by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Here we can see Nithyananda Hindu University and Nithyananda Gurukul offered by Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for education reform and development. The Nithyananda Hindu University is the world's largest Hindu university established by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. The Nithyananda Hindu University has more than 20 million enrollments, 7,000 free courses, extended campuses in 150 different countries. The Nithyananda Gurukul was inaugurated by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism on the 2nd of October 2006. The Nithyananda Gurukul is the revival of the ancient Adi Shaivite Guru-disciple education system, which is an authentic knowledge transmission system based on the science of living enlightenment. Next, we have the Nithyananda Hindu Jnanalaya project, which is the library and Hinduismpedia offered by Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for the protection of Hindu scriptures. The Nithyananda Hindu Jnanalaya project was established by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism to